In today's video, we'll take a closer look at one of the most beloved animated series, Bluey. This heartwarming show has captured the hearts of kids and adults alike with its relatable stories, lovable characters, and stunning animation. But even a show as incredible as Bluey isn't without its small quirks. In this video, we'll be pointing out some of the most surprising and funny animation mistakes you might have missed. From disappearing crumbs to magical moments where characters phase through objects, these little errors are easy to overlook. But once you spot them, you'll never unsee them. Animating a series as detailed as Bluey is no small task, and the occasional slip-ups just add to its charm. So sit back, relax, and join us as we uncover some of Bluey's most intriguing animation errors that will leave you laughing and maybe scratching your head. Let's get started. In one scene, there are crumbs scattered on a plate, but in the very next shot, those crumbs have mysteriously vanished. This disappearance is a clear animation error, as the 3 crumbs should have remained on the plate to maintain continuity. However, it's important to note that this mistake likely occurred because the scene transition happens in a split second. Most viewers wouldn't even notice such a minor detail, and it doesn't detract from the overall storytelling. This one might spark some debate. In a particular shot, Chili is shown wearing a floatable ring. While her legs and tail are clearly visible through the floatable, her upper body is not. You could argue that the floatable is transparent, which would explain why her lower body can be seen. However, if that were the case, her upper body should also be visible through the material. This inconsistency raises questions about whether this was an intentional design choice or another minor oversight in the animation process. In the episode Pirate, where Bandit plays a pirate game with his daughters, there are some noticeable animation glitches if you pay attention. A particularly striking error occurs when Bandit is lounging in a hammock and letting it swing freely. For a fleeting moment, his 2 ears seem to merge into a single ear, creating a bizarre and almost comical visual. This unusual overlap makes Bandit look quite different from his usual self. In the episode Seesaw, we follow Bluey and Bingo's creative efforts to outsmart Bandit, who uses his size to dominate the seesaw and tease the kids. Determined to tip the balance, the duo enlists the help of their friends to sit on the other side. One of the friends they call is Coco, but this is where a small animation error sneaks in. When Bluey initially calls Coco, we can clearly see that Coco has a pair of eyelashes on her eyes, a distinct feature of her character. However, as the group calls Pom to join the effort, and the camera cuts back to Coco, her eyelashes are mysteriously gone. The sudden disappearance of this defining detail is a clear continuity error. In Library, Bluey and her cousins visit a makeshift library where Muffin receives her very own library card. Early in the episode, Bluey shows Muffin a heart-shaped stamp used to mark borrowed and returned books. Initially, the library card with the heart-shaped stamp is on top of a pink piece of paper. However, later in the scene, when Bluey is making a library card for Muffin, the order of the papers changes. The stamped card is now underneath the pink paper. This continuity error, while minor, is noticeable if you pay close attention to the details of the scene. Another error can be spotted with the sunscreen applied to Bluey's face. As Chili applies sunscreen to her children, Bluey ends up with a noticeable layer across her nose and cheeks. However, upon closer inspection, the sunscreen appears to clip through her eyes and nose. This means the animated texture of the sunscreen overlaps awkwardly with other parts of her face, creating an unnatural effect. This mistake becomes even more apparent when the scene is slowed down. The sunscreen's placement shifts in a way that doesn't align with Bluey's facial structure, almost as though it exists on a separate layer of animation. Later in the episode, while the Healer family enjoys their day at the beach, Bluey and Bingo get buried in the sand. Bingo creates a mermaid tail for Bluey, and as Bluey leans backward, there's a top-down view of the 2 sisters. It's here that we notice something strange. Bluey's eyebrows are blue. In the Drums episode, where Chili and Bluey visit a music shop to inquire about violin lessons for Bingo, a couple of peculiar animation mistakes slipped through. During a scene where Bingo is enthusiastically playing a drum, a subtle but odd mistake occurs in the background. If you zoom in on Bluey's foot, you'll notice something unusual. It appears disproportionate compared to the rest of her body. At the same moment, Bluey appears to be floating in mid-air. Her feet aren't touching the ground, making it seem as though she's levitating. Within seconds, however, she returns to a normal standing position, as if nothing happened. This brief but noticeable error raises the amusing question: since when did Bluey learn to float? As Chili converses with the shop assistant while Bluey and Bingo explore, the background is filled with various musical instruments and equipment. Among these are a rectangular speaker, a square speaker, and a drum, positioned near Bingo. However, as Bingo starts playing the drum, something peculiar happens. The rectangular speaker, which was clearly visible moments earlier, disappears completely. In its place, another speaker magically appears beside the drum. This sudden change in the arrangement of the background objects is a classic continuity error. It gives the impression that the music shop is almost magical, with items spontaneously vanishing and reappearing in different locations. In the episode Phone, Grandpa Mort visits the Healer household and spends time playing with Bluey and Bingo while trying to figure out his new phone. During this playful scene, the counter where the girls pretend to run a food delivery service contains some continuity errors. Initially, items such as bowls, a red pencil, and a small notebook are placed on the counter in a particular arrangement. However, in a subsequent shot from a different angle, the pencil mysteriously moves from its original position to sit on top of the notebook. Additionally, this episode features a moment of logic inconsistency rather than a direct animation error. When Grandpa Mort was about to pay his taxi driver, Chili intervenes, explaining that she has already paid the fare using an app on her phone. This raises the question, where does Chili keep her phone? Since none of the characters wear clothes or have visible storage spaces, the sudden appearance of a phone can feel a bit jarring, challenging the internal logic of the show's universe. Set in a supermarket, Bob Bilby features another subtle yet noticeable background error. We noticed a funny mistake that occurred when Bingo climbs onto Bandit's back right at this point when Bluey is taking a photo of Bandit and Bingo. Bandit's face that's being displayed on the phone screen is different from what it actually looks like. If we look at his actual face, his eyes are completely closed, but on the screen his eyes are slightly open. And there you have it. Some of the most fascinating animation errors and continuity mistakes found in Bluey. From floating feet to disappearing objects, these little quirks remind us that even in a well-loved show, the occasional slip-up is inevitable. But let's be real, these errors don't take away from the magic of Bluey. In fact, they add a fun layer for fans who enjoy pausing and rewatching scenes to catch the details. Ultimately, what makes Bluey so special isn't perfection. It's the heartwarming stories, relatable characters, and the life lessons that resonate with audiences of all ages. So next time you're watching Bluey, keep an eye out for these little animation surprises. But don't forget to enjoy the show for everything it does right. After all, a few mistakes here and there just make the Healer family's world feel all the more real. See you next time.